Welcome back to another episode of Tailored Living. In this world that we are currently living in, and in life in general, it is important to know your why. So your why for getting up and going to work every day is that you need to supply money to help support your family. The reason to grow your own food is to know where your food comes from. Or the reason to homestead. Yeah, all of these things need a why. Today's video is about my why. Pretty much what my why comes down to in a nutshell is I don't trust anything. Call it a conspiracy theory, whatever. I don't trust anything. I want to know exactly where my food came from, how it was made, what is in it. I want to know all of that. Another plus side to this is I don't have to worry about any of the poisons or any recalls that maybe come with the food and store-bought items. Not saying that I don't go to the store or that things there aren't necessarily healthy, but if I'm being completely utmost and honest with myself and to you, it's not. Majority of it is not healthy when you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it. So I want to know. That is my biggest why on why I do everything that I do and make the time and the importance to do that. With that said, there is balance. I drink my fair share of pop, which is, let's be real, poison, but everybody has their things. Every once in a while I get a pizza. There is balance in the world. I'm not saying that this is an all or nothing or that there is necessarily right or wrong. It's just knowing your why on why you do things. I stop and pick up a pizza because I'm exhausted and I don't feel like cooking and there's nothing in the freezer. We are an ingredient household, so there's usually not anything super convenient for those quick meals when you're super busy. I'm working on it, but regardless, neither here nor there. Another step in this is that I have noticed that our bodies just feel better when we eat homegrown and homemade stuff. So that's a big why and a big plus to doing all of this. Now, why I wanted to do this video is because I've been receiving a lot of comments, and I am not saying that comments are bad or that these comments are even wrong for that matter. But I kind of wanted to just touch base with them and go over it a little bit to explain my why and to know, so that you know kind of where I stand and why these things are what they are. So actually, these comments have kind of already been in my head. So when I get them, it's not really a surprise because it's things that I've already thought of, things I've already kind of, these are the comments and the questions that I had in my head, not about homemade stuff, but about store-bought stuff of why do I do this? So they work for this. So I'm just going to kind of go through them and let you know my reasonings. So kind of a little bit of a backstory. Even as a little kid, there were signs that I was going to be living this life. They weren't necessarily tall tale signs, but there were signs. I always hated wasting things. Wasting was like one of my biggest pet peeves, and I was that annoying kid that's like, don't throw that away, that's wasteful. With everything to the point where it's almost like hoarder it's almost hoarder category. So at some point you have to find that balance and learn. But even as a kid, I hated wasting things. When I was in, like, I guess you would call it pre-middle school, upper elementary school. I don't know what it's called where you're at, but where I went to school, it was called the intermediate. We actually had a group of friends that we referred to ourselves as the hippies. And while with them, it was kind of an ongoing joke, for me, it was very real. We were going to go save the rainforest, and I would only buy recycled paper, and I don't remember exactly what all they did. I really think they thought it was just a joke, but like to me, there was some truth behind that. Granted, I'm not out here necessarily saving the rainforest, but I am doing my fair part with a lot of things in the situation that I'm given. So, I mean, there's some truth there. I also remember going around saying this doesn't go in the trash, and I remember like picking like papers out of the trash and putting them in the recycling, and like trying to bring stuff into school to put in their recycling bins. And yeah, I remember doing all of that. So like for me, that wasn't a phase. It wasn't a joke. That was a very, very real thing for me in my life. And looking back now, like it makes sense. There was those signs. So the purpose that I have with this channel, as you may have already guessed, is to kind of help guide people, maybe not to saving the rainforest status, but to at least help get themselves and their families a little more self-sufficient, less wasteful. Take what you want out of this channel. There is no right or wrong way. It is not all or nothing. If you are just looking for ways to be slightly less wasteful with some of the things that you are doing anyways, then great. If you want to learn the rest of it, then that's great too. So back to it. That is the purpose of this channel, is to help others learn, help others with just minor changes you can make in your life that, while not necessarily directly saving the rainforest, will help with all of it. So let's start with this comment here. So this comment was on my making breadcrumbs video that it was a short, I believe, that I put on there. And, you know, while it is not wrong, because in this one particularly, I was making the breadcrumbs out of some bread that had been in my fridge for some time and was slightly stale and needing to have something done with it. Well, this goes to the no waste. Now, I could have done a number of things with this. I could have taken the bread out to the chickens and fed the chickens with it, and it still would have not been wasted, but we were actually out of breadcrumbs. So we were out of breadcrumbs. This is one of the things I absolutely refuse to buy from the store, because they're so easy to make at home, and they are so much better when you make them at home. So the comment says that it's still stale, even when you make it into something else. Not wrong. You are 110% correct. They are still stale. It is still made from a stale bread product. This bread was not moldy. It was just too stiff to really cut up and be able to use into sandwiches. So let me ask you this. Do you know the process for making breadcrumbs? You bake them. You intentionally make them stale in a way. That's how you turn them into breadcrumbs. And yes, while they may be stale, here's a little bit of food for thought for you. Theoretically, when you purchase things like breadcrumbs from the store, they are packaged accordingly and made from fresh ingredients and put into their packaging and sold into the stores. How long are they in that packaging before you even purchase them? Now, do you ever wonder when you purchase these breadcrumbs why they are crispy? Or why they last so long in the canister before going bad? Now, I don't know the logistics. I don't want to point fingers. That is not what I'm here to do. But just some food for thought there, that these things don't necessarily go bad for a reason. And funny story, not about breadcrumbs, but about just packaged food in general. I had a package of cereal, I'm not going to say which one, that I purchased at Christmas time a couple years ago specifically to make a snack with. And I didn't use the whole box, so the box got tucked up. You've seen my cupboards don't reach the ceiling. There's shelving up there. I'm short. They got put up there out of sight, out of mind. Anyways, someone came over and was helping watch my daughter. We went outside and did something or went somewhere. I don't remember the specifics on it. It doesn't matter. Anyways, when we had gotten back in the house, you know, this person had said, well, you know, your daughter ate this, 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 and this. And I went, where did you get that cereal from? Oh, it was from up there. This was 6 months after opening this. I kid you not. It sounds gross, but just bear with me here. 6 months. I said, you let her eat that cereal. That cereal is 6 months old. The response was, there was no mold on it. It's okay. It doesn't trouble you that something has been open for over 6 months and there's no mold on it. Something's wrong with this picture. So sure, these products have best buy dates and it's all clearly posted and written on there, and that's fantastic. Back to that, you don't know exactly when it was made, did you know that the average egg in the grocery store is already 60 days old before it even gets to the grocery store, before you can even take it home and put it in your fridge? And that's just on average. So it makes me wonder, does this pertain to other foods too? Is this what all of our foods are like that we are purchasing in the store? So this may just be me. You can do you however you want to do it. There is no judgment here. But I think I'll take my stale breadcrumbs made out of my stale bread that I made here in my kitchen and know exactly what's into it. If it is too stale, I can always just add, something else to it to make it better, seasonings, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's always a way if you have the will to do it. But that's my why on that. I don't care if it's stale bread that I made it from, as long as I know where it came from. So this next video here was on my brown sugar video that I did. Now this comment, I am 99% sure it was mostly directed at my lack of verbiage on what I was doing and explaining what was happening. I'm very, very certain that that's what this was pertaining to. But in the comment, it does have a very good question involved in that. And who knows what you put in it? Exactly. Who knows what is put into this food? Every food label, every nutrition label, even through cottage law, is supposed to have a complete list of ingredients and sub-ingredients of what is placed into the food. However, there is that bit of allowance of the other stuff that is not food that is allowed into our food. There is also untruthful people in the world. There is so much that goes into that. It is terrifying. And I know there are quite a few documentaries out there too that tell you what is put in your food that is not put on the food labels, and it is just absolutely disgusting. If you only watch a couple of those, it'll be more than your fair fill to say, yeah, I think I want to make some stuff at home. I want to know what goes in my food. I've also heard, and I don't know how true this is either because I haven't really gone fully down that rabbit hole, but I have also heard that other countries won't buy chicken from us because there's chloride or chlorination in the chicken. That's terrifying, and I know for a fact that's not on the label. But anyway, so if making products at home and things at home means I know exactly what is in my food, then so be it. I will make time for that because I don't want to be eating chloride. No. It goes right hand in hand with the whole breadcrumbs thing too, is knowing exactly what goes in there, whether the bread is stale or fresh or whatever. You know exactly what's going into it, and that makes a huge difference when you're really aware and starting to look at all of these things. So this comment here was on a video about homemade mayo, but really it pertains to just about everything because it is a very good question. Does it taste the same? The answer, if I'm being blatantly honest, is no. Most of your homemade stuff is an acquired taste. And I say acquired because it's not what you're used to. Now, if we had all grown up on this strictly homemade diet, this would be normal to us. This would be what would taste regular, and the store-bought would taste extremely different. But it's not. 95% of us at this day and age were raised on store-bought products. So that is what we are used to. That is what our taste is accustomed to. So anything out of the ordinary is going to taste different. It does not taste bad necessarily, just different. And it does take a little while to get used to. But if you have that secure why in place on why you want to do this, then you acquire that taste. You get used to that taste because the reason behind doing it is there and it is valid and it is in the front of your brain. Also on that, most things from the store do have artificial flavorings and preservatives in them, which do alter the taste of a lot of products as well. So keep that in mind, how much we've been fed those artificials and those preservatives our whole life. I mean, I'm 31 and that's what we were fed because it was the convenience of it, and that's where our families were. Not saying I didn't have home cooked stuff as a kid. My mom always tried to cook home cooked, but you can see that home cooked in our parents' age was not the same as home cooked on their parents' age. Convenience quickly took over in generations, and what was once fully from scratch, now from scratch is just purchasing the products and putting them to... It's a different from scratch. It is the modern day. And I'm talking about back to the roots from scratch. Not saying if you are cooking meals at home with all products that you bought from the store, that is still healthier than, say, a burger from a fast food joint. Anyways, you do what's best for you. But back to the point, when you know your why, the taste doesn't matter as much. There are some things that I just won't make from home because they're just not the same, and we just can't do it. But I am still learning, I am still growing, I am still trying to perfect those things to be able to have a more shelf-stable and homemade lifestyle. It is a process, it is a learning process, and it takes a lot of time. It does not happen overnight. Now, another good thing about, like, with the taste factor is you can always tweak it a little bit, too, to make it fit your taste. So if something's not sweet enough, not salty enough, you can find other things, other ingredients to add into it to make it fit your taste. And that's the beauty of it versus something that you buy from the store that just is in the bottle. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'll share a little bit of my beliefs with you on this fact. In less than 2 generations, convenience has almost completely wiped out an entire way of life. Our ancestors used to have the knowledge to survive without the grocery store. That is no secret. Everything was made from scratch. Everything was grown off the land. Everything was harder but simpler at the same time. The convenience of the grocery stores took over, and so everything evolved. The from scratch cooking evolved. All of those old-timey recipes weaned out because they didn't know things that we know now. It was just so much easier for the women, especially as women were moving into the workforce and providing for their families as well as the men, that we've lost a lot of that bare knowledge. Now we are, 3-4 generations down the road, and people are sicker than they have ever been. And just, don't even get me started on the whole pharmaceutical side of it. That's a whole nother section. No matter what your beliefs are on this front, doesn't it make you wonder, how did our ancestors live as long as they did and maintain healthier lifestyles and just do everything that they did? And it's a big old rabbit hole, and if you want to go down it, I do highly suggest that you go down it, because it is something that we all need to know. If you're not interested in that and you're just here for the fun tips on how not to waste any part of an orange, then that's cool too. Everybody does things at their own pace, and everybody does things differently, and there is nothing wrong with that. This is just my beliefs and my why. So I guess all that I'm trying to say is, all you wannabe hippies out there, you can help be the change that you wanted to be, even if it's not saving the rainforest. It might not be saving the rainforest, but it may be the start to saving our ancestors' way of life and our way of life in general. But I will tell you that one thing I will absolutely stick to my guns to is, if you are going to do any of this in your way of life, you need to know your why and stick to it, because people will question you. Questioning isn't fun when you don't necessarily have the good answers. So really, really think about your why, because not only will people question you, you sometimes will question yourself. There's no sugarcoating it. Sometimes you will. And you need to remember your why and stick to that, because this is not an easy life, but it is worth it. With that being said, I hope that I gave you guys some insightful information as to why I do the things that I do and why these comments resonated with me, because they are questions that I have often asked myself about our food system and why I do what I do. So if this sounds like you, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well, and last but not least, remember to smile.